All right. Eddie Hearn sells out Dan Rayfield and lets the world know that he buys Dan Rayfield off with hotel rooms and who knows what else in exchange for positive news coverage. That, my friend, is what you call pay-for-play, and it's terrible lack of journalistic integrity. But let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel, subscribers. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And also, special thank you to the Patreons, special thank you to the live stream community for your encouragement and your support in the Cash App and the Super Chats. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you come to OG Boxing Talk Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with myself, Blood Boxing, KQKC Boxing, Trap House Boxing, and Curtis, the boxing historian Anderson. All right, man. I came across some information on YouTube. Can't remember the name of the channel off the top, but I also saw it on Twitter. And basically, Eddie Hearn was given an interview, and Eddie Hearn said, I'll put the name to the channel in the bottom of the description box. Basically, somebody asked Eddie Hearn if he thought it was okay to pay journalists give them rooms, free airfare, things like that in order to cover the fights and give positive coverage to his fighters, and wondered if it was if there was any issue with journalistic integrity. What Eddie Hearn said was enlightening and true from his point of view, but he specifically sells out and uses Dan Rayfield from ESPN in his example. So let's listen to what it is that Eddie Hearn had to say, and then after that, let's talk about it.
Should a promoter worry about the journalistic integrity of a media member and not pay for their room? Absolutely fucking no way. Should a journalist... I paid for Dan Raphael's hotel in Dallas or wherever we were. I can't even remember. So what? He covers for ESPN. It's a big deal to get him at my event.
Yeah. I paid for Dan Raphael's hotel in Dallas or wherever we were. I can't even remember. So what? He covers for ESPN. It's a big deal to get him at my event.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to continue to do it. After that article, I'm going to do it even more so now. I'm going to start inviting key media and paying for all their travel in their hotel.
That's absolutely crazy. So, as you hear, he said that he paid for Dan Rayfield to fly to a fight in Dallas, and I'm pretty sure I know what that fight was, but a fight in Dallas. And as a result of the great coverage that he got, he is going to continue to pay airfare, pay hotel, and obviously access to the fight, probably food as well. He didn't say food, but hey, they flew there. They have to sleep somewhere. They have to get into the fight, and they've got to eat. They probably got to drink too. And who knows? They might feel like they need to get a little something while they're there too. I wonder if Eddie might be willing to kick in with all of that. But Eddie, rightfully so, says, look, man, that ain't my issue. Should I, as a promoter, care about the journalistic integrity of the writers? Fuck no, is what he said. Did he say fuck no? I think he said fuck no. Anyway, he definitely said no. Should they? Well, that ain't my problem. That's on them. But hey, I get a lot out of it when I do that. I flew Dan Rayfield into a fight in Dallas, and with the article that he wrote after that, oh, you better believe I'm going to continue to do it. So, what's the issue here? Guys like Dan Rayfield have votes in the Hall of Fame. He's a member. He actually has on Twitter shown when they sent him, when these Hall of Fames send them ballots to vote for the Hall of Fame. He also puts his vote in on pound for pound lists. He also has the ability, because he's a writer, because if you have the ability to build up, you also have the ability to tear down. So here's my question. If people, and not just Dan Rayfield, because other people do this, if a boxing writer is willing to allow a promoter to pay him and it's not cash pay, but it is it could be quid pro quo, could call it bartering, whatever the case is. If a boxing journalist, tongue-in-cheek journalist, is willing to accept a hotel room, flights, tickets, front row seats to the fights, obviously front row seats to the fights, maybe a food per diem, who knows what else. If they're willing to do that to cover a fight, what do you think they would be willing to do for a vote for the Boxing Writers Association of America's Fighter of the Year? What do you think that they would be willing to do in order to just say, cast a vote for an unknown fighter to be listed, say at number 4 on a pound for pound list, or to introduce and try to persuade other boxing writers to say good things about a certain promoter's fighter? Do you really think that a guy like Eddie Hearn or Bob Arum or Don King, when he was doing it, or whoever else, would stop at just a good boxing article? Now, the interesting thing about this to me is that there was an article, the first time I ever heard of Mark Kriegel, who is the journalist, respected journalist that covers ESPN fights. Oh yeah, Mark Kriegel also works for ESPN, similar to Dan Rayfield. An article that he wrote earlier in his boxing career when he explained about what happened the first time he went to a fight overseas. He wrote this article talking about the referees and talking about the judges, right? And said essentially that what the promoter did was, for these fights, he didn't name the fight, but for fights that took place in a fight in Italy, it was a fight in Italy, that they flew the referees in, they flew the judges in, they wined and dined the judges, wined and dined, the people involved, and that it wind up being where it was like a mini vacation. It was a free vacation to Italy for the people that the promoter decided to take. And then he reasonably drew the conclusion that, hey, this could very well affect the impartiality of the judges. Hey, if I score the fight the way that I think the promoter wants me to score it, then I might get another vacation. I might get another plane trip to Italy. I might get another 5-star hotel and 5-course luxury dinner or whatever it is. But if I don't score right, if I don't score it like he wants me to score it, or I think he wants me to score it, then I might not be invited back. The thing that Mark Kriegel left out of that interview, though, was that he was a boxing journalist and he was on the same flight, paid for by the same people, stayed in the same hotel, paid for by the same people, was at the same dinner, paid for by the same people. So if it could affect the impartiality, if what was going on could affect the impartiality of judges potentially, or referees potentially, what about a journalist would make him any different? wouldn't they be subject to the same pressures? If Dan Rayfield knows that he can get his hotel paid for, his rental car paid for, or his Uber, or reimbursed for his Uber, and invited to an excellent meal and whatever type of perks, if he doesn't write a good article, if he writes one that is negative, wouldn't he also reasonably assume that he wouldn't get those perks anymore if he didn't give them favorable coverage? That is what my friends, is what another boxing writer said about Dan Rayfield when Bob Arum and Top Rank came. Said something that Bob Arum didn't like. Bob Arum had him sitting in the back with the regular press row at that event. But hey, man, we're just supposed to believe that these guys, this reputable Ring magazine, reputable ESPN pound for pound list, completely unbiased coverage of Anthony Joshua and Canelo Alvarez and Lomachenko. All of this comes because of the logic of boxing writers, the noble media with this great journalistic integrity. No, man, they're bought and paid for, okay? And since they're bought and paid for, everything that they say comes into question. And Eddie Hearn just put it out there on Front Street. Let me know what you think in the comments section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.